Double inline clip, tactical flashlight, and the element of surprise. This is the Russian LS-61. Hello friends, hello YouTube, how are you guys doing? Rainbow here with another Nerf mod video. And today I can finally reveal to you the Russian LS-61. For those of you who followed me on my Instagram, links in the description by the way, I have been working on this for quite a while, but before I explain to you what this exactly is, here's an overview. So this, as you may have guessed, was originally a Zuru Vigilante shotgun style blaster, pictured up here. And I love this blaster for the feel. The grip is solid, the prime is awesome, but it only shoots 2 darts. It only holds 2 darts right here, and then you have to, flip it open and reload. So the original mechanism was to press here, and then this entire front piece would kind of fold down, and you stick 2 darts in there, you fold it up, you get 2 shots, and that's it. And I thought, it's awesome, but that's not practical. So I want to do something a little bit more practical if I want to use this blaster. But how could I make this more effective? My brain instantly went inline clips. Could I fit 2 inline clips in that front section of the blaster? Because originally the front part is empty. So you load the darts into here, and that's where they sit, and that's all just empty barrel. So my brain went, yes, can I make it work that I put an inline clip all the way through the front here and have it, sealed up and connected to the original setup, so I can use 2 barrels either at once or ideally separately. And yes, it works. I was able to fit a double inline clip in here full length, so this blaster holds either 6 elite darts or up to 12 short darts, which is just phenomenal. And the original barrel select is still in play. So with the Zuru X-Shot blaster, you load the 2 darts and you prime once, it selects, the mechanism in here selects 1 barrel, you shoot, you prime again, and the mechanism selects the other barrel, and then you shoot again. That's how you can do the 2 shots without having to reload. So with this inline clip, the way I built it, this mechanism is still working. So when I prime once, it selects 1 barrel, I fire, I prime again, it selects the other. So that means you can have, with the 6 elite darts, you can have 6 shots out of this blaster. And with the up to 12 short darts, you could technically have up to 12 shots in this blaster, which is phenomenal. So before we go any further, here's a quick look at the internals. So here we are with the internals. I have done some modifications, as you can see, obviously, but this is now glued together. This is just counterweight, so it's a bit more balanced. But the important thing is the one right here. I have filled this up with epoxy to reinforce this wall, because that wall is where the spring rests on, and in the original blaster it's fairly flimsy. And because I've upgraded the spring, the big one is the original one, the one underneath is, I believe, a cyclone shock spring. And I was afraid that this wall was going to break, so therefore I have put some epoxy behind this. I've also then upgraded the catch spring and hot glued it in place so it doesn't jump all over the shop. Other than that, this is fully lubed up and Teflon taped around it and is almost a perfect seal. It's very hard to do this with one finger, but as you can see, no, you can't. There we go. I love this. I'm going to leave it as it is. This is the inline clip, which will sit in here, and this is the original barrel select, which is still functioning. So whenever you prime it, this selects a different barrel, and so you can shoot 1 barrel at a time. And yes, this is intentional. I want this, have more control, even though it's not quite a shotgun. Alright, here we are with the internals fully assembled. As you can see, this is all in here. The top thing, the button doesn't do anything anymore because that doesn't open, but I didn't want to have a big hole over here. I have this here. I also have the spring in here so that this one doesn't just wobble around, and it's actually in place. we've got all of this in place. I cannot show you this mechanism because it will pop out when I put it now. I'm going to close the blaster. I'm going to put everything else in play, and then yeah, we're good to go. This is how it looks on the inside. It's actually rather simple. Double inline clip. Yeah, there we go. So with the internal setup, the way that you just saw them with the tuning spring and everything, this blaster was a little bit more beefy to prime, but it was phenomenal. So the average on elite darts was around about 120 FPS. The average on short darts was around about 110, which is great. Single elites is 130, which is fantastic. But there was a little problem with it. I wanted to record a firing demo for you guys so you can see the barrel select in action and everything. And then this happened. During recording of this video and the firing demonstration, something broke and I opened it up and I found that the plunger rod actually broke. This is something that I wasn't expecting, in all honesty. I thought that, you know, something here or with the catch or anything or with this system sort of wouldn't be able to deal with the pressure of the two springs in there, but for some reason it was this one. And it does make sense since you can take this apart. This is only half the material here. You can see here, this is kind of where it just ripped out. And that's the weakest point in this entire setup. So it does make sense that if this one breaks, it would break here. But overall, I didn't expect this to happen. But anyhow, I just wanted to show you that everything else is fine. So this setup works, the catch works, the trigger, everything was able to deal with the double springs, but this one wasn't. So now I am back to the stock spring in here. Luckily, I had a second Vigilante where I could just take this one from and I didn't have to repair. But I'm working on something that I can either make this stronger or, you know, maybe 3D print or design something that will actually be able to take the force of the double spring, because I like the performance. With this setup, the performance is short about 30 FPS on elite darts as well as short darts. So I quite liked the performance beforehand, before it broke, so I'm going to definitely try and figure out an internal setup that will hold this power. But for now, this is as it is, and it still works brilliantly, as you can see later. So yeah, I guess it's just a Zuru plastic that wasn't strong enough. I don't know if Nerf plastic would have made a difference, but you know, learn from my mistake. You got to reinforce that plunger when you want to reinforce the spring. But even with the stock spring in here, this system works just fine. On elite darts, I'm getting an average of about 95 with highs to about 115, 110. And on short darts, I'm getting an average of about 75 with highs up to the 90s. So that is still fine for this inline clip system. But now you want to see it fire, so here's a little firing demo. As you've seen, the first one, 6 straight shots from elite darts, and with about 10 short darts loaded in the second clip, there was some double fire. And that is actually why this blaster is called the Russian. I couldn't for the love of me figure out why this sometimes double fire and sometimes doesn't. It is very irregular. It's just randomly just, you know, does a double fire of short darts. I don't know why. It's not always the first or always the second or always the third, so you could sort of make up some sort of theory on why this happens. It's sometimes the first, sometimes the last, sometimes the third, I don't know. I couldn't figure this out, and I was playing around with several different settings of the inline clip and everything. But then my friend Alex from Sweden, where he's like, dude, if you can't figure out the problem, just leave it as a feature and call it the Russian. And I'm like, that's it. Thanks, man. Shout out again. You're awesome. And I'll always appreciate your input in terms of blaster modding and everything. So this is called the Russian because of that feature. That is the hidden surprise element and feature. So you never know. Sometimes you just shotgun a double shot because... who knows? Maybe this will come in handy when I play games. I don't know. So let's quickly talk about the external modifications on this blaster. It's rather simple. I took out the stock, which is, you know, just open it up, take it out. And then I filled the hole in the back here with epoxy. I glued these shells together so it, you know, can't open anymore. and added a tech rail on the side here which holds that flashlight. I have then attached the priming grip of an Alpha Trooper to the front here, and then reattached the original front bit that was normally here, just out there. And the reason I did this, I wanted full-length brass, and I'm not a fan of brass sticking out of blasters. I don't think it's safe, and I also think, you know, if I hit the blaster onto something, it might break the internal system. The brass goes out to about here, as you can see. It's right there, which is why I had to put something in the front, and this Alpha Trooper grip just, yeah, it was laying around in my parts bin, and yeah, it just works. Did some epoxy work on the top to match that angle here, and yeah, that is that. The little thing that I've added in the back here is a piece of PVC pipe, and that's a ramrod kind of loading aid if you want, because when you put in a short dart up the top here, I can't push it far enough down, so I have this little thing, push it down here, and then same thing on the other side, push it down here, and then you can put it back and it rests in there nice and easy. And because I don't need to use this one right here, because you know that has no function, that's not in the way or anything. So last but not least, let's talk about the paint job real quick. This one was a really fun one to make because I did learn a couple of new things on this paint job, but the basics were all the same. So primer, automotive silver, and in this case a flat black as a base coat. The wood grips in front here and the back here are done using acrylic paints and a big brush. And I've been getting a lot of questions and compliments on this fake wood. If you want to see a tutorial on how this is done, let me know in the comments below, and I could definitely, with the next project I paint this, remember hopefully, to make a tutorial on how to paint or on how I paint the fake wood. Yeah, let me know if you want to know this. The rest of it is mainly airbrush, so the reds and the silver are all airbrushed, so I taped off all the rest and then airbrushed that. The one thing that I'm really proud of is this little detail right there, because that's actually also airbrushed, but I used a plotter to cut out the star, the hammer and the sickle, and then put it in there, use it as a stencil and airbrushed over the top. And I never sort of put files together for plotter and things, and yeah, so that was the learning for this one. I'm really happy how it turned out. And yeah, the Russian, the name down here, as well as the number over here, are then cut from a vinyl and are actually stickers that sit on top of the paint job. I have done a lot of dry brushing to the remaining black bits, so all up here and around here and down here. So that's done using gilding wax, so similar to Rub and Buff, but a little bit different. And then I took the airbrush again, and before I did the weathering, and came in and sort of painted these and this and the little corners right here to make it a bit more used look. And then I've given it a good amount of weathering, like I always do, to make it look like it has seen at least a couple of things and a couple of stories to tell. And to finish it off, I put on 3 layers of clear coat, 2 of them high gloss and 1 being matte, and now this is a really nice look. It is not too shiny, but it still has the metallic effects, which I like, and that's how the paint job is done. So overall, this project was a lot of fun. I'm so happy that my theory of how this inline clip could work actually works, and the way this blaster turned out, I could have not imagined beforehand. And again, it was within the project that the name and also the color scheme then came to be, because with the suggestion of naming it the Russian, I had a new color scheme, and I took some, you know, inspiration from the Winter Soldier in terms of the colors. And yeah, this was so much fun to do. As always, thank you very much for watching. I would really appreciate it if you take a look at the website, if you check out my social media, my Instagram, my Facebook, and as well my Patreon. Shout out to my patrons, you guys are amazing. Check out the 2 videos on screen now. And other than that, happy modding, happy nerfing, and I'll see you next time. Love and sunshine.